gavel again. I'm being told to gavel again. So, welcome back to the afternoon of our extraordinary symposium here on Bridging the Gap. I'm Dave Pinto, State Representative and Chair of the House Early Childhood Finance and Policy Division, and I'll be in this position for the next couple presentations. We had a really productive morning. I hope that folks felt like they learned a lot. I know that I certainly did, and happy to be back here now. And the next couple presentations and really right through the end are going to be really terrific as well. We are honored to have Justice Page here and Kashkari from the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, and so excited to get to hear from them and have a dialogue and a conversation. And I want to make sure to remind folks, of course, that there's the cards available for asking questions, and please feel free to send them on in. I want to make sure to give them maximum time possible, and I don't think that we have any other business to get to, so let's get them started. And so, gentlemen, please proceed as you wish, and we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the opportunity to present to all of you and have this discussion. My name is Neel Kashkari. I'm president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. I will start off and go through some slides fairly quickly, and then I'll turn it over to Justice Page. Let's just start by level setting. Minnesota has some of the largest education achievement gaps in the nation by race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status. I know you've spent this morning discussing them. This is not simply a racial issue. This is not simply a Twin Cities issue. These gaps are statewide. They include low-income kids of all colors relative to their more well-to-do counterparts. Minnesota has done a pretty good job reducing inequality and some inputs into education, such as per pupil spending and class sizes, but the disparities are in the education outcomes, which is where our focus is. So why are we proposing a constitutional amendment? Our view is that the teachers have not failed. The children have not failed. It is our political system writ large that has failed. Not any individual legislators, not any individual members, but the political system itself. Our view is that for decades, leaders of both parties have put forward thoughtful solutions, but they don't agree on what the solutions are. And if they don't agree on the solutions, we end up with the status quo. If you look around the country, other states are making substantial progress. These problems are not impossible to solve. You do not have to first solve poverty. I would love to solve poverty. I don't know how to do that. You do not have to first solve poverty or housing or nutrition. Those are all really important. You can actually make progress in education itself with education reform. Again, those other things are important too, but we're focusing on the education system. We believe that creating an individual civil right to a quality public education for every child in Minnesota can break through the political barriers that have prevented reforms from taking place. Now, let me just give you an example of, this is requiring, with all due respect, this would require the legislature to recognize limitations in its own ability. And there's precedent for this. So after the Cold War, the U.S. military knew they needed to downsize the number of Air Force and Army bases. But the U.S. Congress knew they couldn't make the decisions because each member had to look out for his or her own district. So how do you make the decisions? So they came together and created a bipartisan commission, and they delegated the decision to the bipartisan commission to optimize for the country as a whole. They literally put country before politics. And that is widely viewed to have been a successful endeavor, and it showed real leadership from the legislature in doing that. Now, let me just shift gears here. I want to prove to you that these problems are not impossible to solve. This is an example from Florida. On the chart on the left, you can see the national ranking for average test scores, grade 4 reading. In orange, Florida was 33rd in 2003, Minnesota was 12th. By 2019, Florida was 6th, Minnesota was still 12th. That's remarkable progress in about 15 years. On the right, this focuses on gaps based on socioeconomic status, so low-income kids versus middle-class kids. Florida had the 30th worst gaps, Minnesota the 34th in 2003. By 2019, Florida had made so much progress, they're 6th in the nation, and Minnesota has fallen back a place. I promise you, Florida has poverty too. Florida has housing issues too. Florida has nutrition issues too. But the education reforms they put in place have made real dramatic improvement for outcomes for kids. We're not sitting here saying Minnesota should adopt Florida's model. We're just saying this is evidence that progress is absolutely possible given the political will. So we looked at, with Justice Page's leadership, we looked at education clauses across the 50 states. Every state constitution has an education clause. There's wide variations of what they say. Minnesota's education clause was written in 1857. when slavery was still legal in the United States and when women did not have the right to vote. It was, let's just be blunt, I'm just going to be direct. It was written in 1857 to provide an education to the children of white landowners. That was life in 1857. Who had the power? Landowners. It appears to us that our education system today, through nobody's intention today, nobody alive today is intending this outcome. Nobody in this room is intending this outcome. But it strikes us that our education today is actually working as it was originally designed in 1857. It is serving the children it was designed to serve. And that's what we want to change. This page just very quickly looks at a snapshot of language. We looked at all the different 50-state constitutions. Many states talk about a uniform system, a thorough and efficient system, as Minnesota does. Some states have gone further and made education an equal right. Some states have gone further and made education the paramount or primary duty of the state. Some states have gone further and focused on high-quality education, and some have required standards. We think there's a lot to learn from what other states have done in updating their constitutions for the modern era. I'm going quickly on purpose. This is a snapshot of the United States of America. In the last 30 years, there have been more than 300 proposals on ballots to amend state constitutions on education. Look at the check box over Minnesota. That's a 0 for Minnesota. Many other states have updated their constitutions, but not us. 0. So here's the language that we're proposing, an equal right to a quality public education. I'll come back to this. What would it do? Create a civil right for quality public education, focus on, from inputs and systems to focus on children and outcomes, put children first in the eyes of the law. One thing we work very hard, Justice Page and I are not proposing the solution. We're not proposing what the class sizes should be. We're not proposing how to train teachers. We think that is best left to the legislature and to the teachers and to the families and to the parents to decide what is right for their children. What we're trying to do is use the law to elevate education, to make it a paramount duty of the state, and hold the state accountable for outcomes for all children. That's why we think this amendment has so much power. I just remind you that civil rights have led to transformation in American society over time, starting with the Bill of Rights. Think about the right to free speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom of the press, 13th Amendment abolishing slavery, 15th Amendment giving men of color the right to vote, 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote, Brown versus Board of Education, Civil Rights Acts. There have been lots of objections to the Bill of Rights and all of these over time. But look at how much positive good they've done in our society over time. They lead to transformation. We think we should do that for education. Now, what do the critics say? One group says this will open the door to vouchers for private schools. That is patently false. It says public education 3 times in 3 sentences, and Attorney General Ellison has publicly said there's no way this leads to vouchers for private schools. 2, some people have said this will lead to cuts for funding for public education. Again, patently false. This will make public schools a paramount duty of the state, meaning the state would have no higher duty than supporting public education. How that can lead to cutting funding, I don't understand. 3rd, some have said this will only lead to, this can only be used by rich families who can afford lawyers. That's simply not how civil rights works. Most of the landmark civil rights cases in American history have been low-income families bringing a case that their rights are violated. And if one family brings one case, it can lead to transformation for everybody. I don't need a lawyer. I don't need to go to court to exercise my right to free speech. It's embedded in the Constitution. That's why I have the right. Others have said this will lead to an onslaught of frivolous lawsuits. That's simply not true. If you look around the country, other states have amended their constitutions, has not led to an onslaught. Some have said this will give judges too much power over education. I would just respectfully remind you that the Constitution established 3 co-equal branches of government: the legislature, the executive, and, of course, the judiciary. We think they have a role to play, but the legislature will have the first responsibility in crafting education policy. Finally, some people have said this creates a positive right. That is false. The positive right already exists today in the Minnesota Constitution, created by the existing language. What we are doing is changing the standard from adequate to quality, but the right already exists. Some people earlier this morning said that this would somehow impinge on families' ability to homeschool their children. If you have the right to vote, you do not have the obligation to vote. You have the right to free speech, you do not have the obligation to speak. If you have the right to a quality public education, you are not obligated to use that right. We just want to make sure that it is available. Critics have offered, to be blunt, no credible plans of their own to close the gaps. Some people have said we just need more money. The research is clear. If you just pour more money into the same school system and don't make other changes, it does not lead to better outcomes. Others have said, we just need one party to control everything, and then we'll make all the changes we want to make. Minnesotans like divided government. I have some sympathy for divided government, but I think just wishing for a political miracle does not seem like a credible strategy. And I would say, you know, are we going to treat this like a crisis? I believe it's a crisis. Justice Page believes it's a crisis. One of the things, then I'm going to stop. From 2006 to 2009, I was at the U.S. Treasury Department in Washington, D.C., working for both Presidents Bush and President Obama during the financial crisis. One of the things I learned in that crisis is you do not break the back of a crisis with incremental policies. You break the back of a crisis with overwhelming force. And I believe that if 34% of rich white children in Minnesota could read at grade level, this would be a statewide crisis that we'd be hearing about every single day. I urge us all to treat this like a crisis because we believe it is a crisis and it demands a crisis response. So last thing, we're asking you to give the voters a chance. There is nothing more democratic in our society than giving the voters a chance to speak their mind and to decide for themselves. And by putting this on the ballot, you will give the voters a chance to say whether or not they want all children in Minnesota to have a civil right to a quality public education. So with that, let me turn it over to Justice Page.
Thank you, Mr. Kashkari. Before we transition to Justice Page, just to remind members of the public especially that that there are some cards and pieces of paper, and you can write a question and send it on down. I know we won't get to all questions, but we'll try to get to as many as we can. Justice Page, please.
Representative Pinto, thank you for having us here today. You know, trying to think about where to begin. One of the things that I learned.
Justice, could you put the microphone a little closer to your mouth? Thank you.
One of the things that I learned as a justice, you know, we handled lawsuits, but each one of them involved real people with real problems. And it's hard to, you know, sometimes put a face on that. But when I look at what's happening in education, we talk about the system, we talk about children, but we don't necessarily put children first, which is one of the things, which is the primary thing that our proposed amendment would do, would be to put children first. But we sort of lose sight of the human beings behind this. There are 800 and roughly 65,000 school children in Minnesota today. There are roughly 280,000 children of color. So right around a third, rounding. If you take that 280,000 and say only 30% of them, 90,000, are going to be prepared, what about that other 180,000? What about those people? And to be even clearer, I spent, I guess it's 4 weeks ago now, at a school in North St. Paul reading to 390, 400 children. They had them all in the gym, the entire school, elementary K through 6, I believe it was. And 90% of those kids were children of color. And I can remember sitting there thinking, 400 kids, 90% of them, which 60% of these kids that I am looking at are going to get left behind? That's shocking. we don't have the luxury of continuing to do what we've been doing for the last 40 years and getting the same results. We need to do something dramatically different. And we think by amending the Constitution, that would be something dramatically different that would bring about change. Will it bring about change just because of mere words on the page? No. But we think it will be a catalyst to refocus and to recommit to children. The one thing that our proposed amendment does is it shifts the focus from the current focus on the system and inputs to that system to children and outcomes. I think that is critical. You know, Neel mentioned that we have a failure of our political system. That's part of it. Part of it is that the system that has been designed under the current Article 13 is a system that fails children. Some children do well under it. A lot of children don't. We think our proposed amendment will create a system that will serve all children. Neel mentioned one of the criticisms is the concern about being able to go to court. A system that provides for an education that doesn't have some enforcement provision, doesn't have some way to vindicate the right to that education, is a system that will continue to do what it's doing today. By creating an enforcement mechanism, and trust me, the best solution to litigation is figuring out how to solve the problem, not having the litigation fight for the sake of the fight. But without an enforcement mechanism, nothing will change. And it's unfortunate that we are here today having this conversation. But we are here because of all those children out there across the state who are sitting in classrooms today who are being left behind. And I would note, and then I'll finish, that as I understand it, roughly 40% of the state's budget goes to education. 40%. For that 280,000, those 280,000 students of color, the two-thirds of them who are being left behind, that money is being wasted. No amount of the cost of litigation can ever match that amount of money. And are we comfortable with essentially pouring money down the drain and getting no results? Are we comfortable with that? Are we comfortable continuing down the same road that we are on today, wasting massive amounts of money? It's time for us, all of us, to take action to address what some of us call achievement gaps, some of us call opportunity gaps, what I have decided to call systemic adult failure.
Thank you. Thank you, Justice Page. Thank you, Mr. Kashkari. So quite a few questions here. I'm going to try to present them in as kind of efficient way as possible. So there's a number that just ask about the specific and tangible effects that having this would do. So I'll just say a couple that will hopefully make the point. What does this tangibly do to improve the quality of education students receive? What specific changes would the amendment bring about, and how long would it take? And there's one that kind of, in a way, may be presented in a helpful way. Hypothetically, if the amendment was in effect, would our current educational data, would there be grounds for a suit today? And how would you predict the outcome? And so those are a couple pieces, hopefully, that kind of pulls it together.
I'm not real good with hypothetical.
Fair enough.
And the reason I'm not is courts deal with facts. And they deal with the facts in front of them, not with what we would like the facts to be, not with what somebody suggests the facts are, but with the facts that are in front of them. And so it's hard to say what a court will do hypothetically. But I do know this, that whatever, assuming that there is a civil right to a quality education, the court will examine the facts in front of it and make a determination one way or the other about whether the particular child or the particular plaintiff rights have been vindicated or not vindicated.
I would add, we've talked about, we think if this were passed, that this would be a motivator for the legislature to come together. All of you, no doubt, who've been working on education a long time, have your own ideas. And we believe that this could be a catalyst to move the legislature forward, to come together, put politics aside, and enact many of your ideas that you already have been working on for many years. So that's our first instance, is this will lead to legislation. In other states, there's been sweeping legislation that have made big changes over time. We don't prejudge what you will choose to do. But only if the legislature fails to act do we see this necessarily going to the courts.
Okay, thank you. We have some questions about some of the outside factors that influence student achievement, and you referenced them somewhat in the presentation. Is there anything that you'd expect the amendment to have in terms of influencing those factors, or pressuring the legislature to take action on those issues? Any connection that you would see between the amendment and those issues, if at all?
My sense is that instead of an education system that is focused on the system itself, the focus will shift to meeting children where they are. I mean, we have to educate those children in the classroom, not some hypothetical child who fits, sort of in the mold of that thrives in the system that exists today. That children come to school with all sorts of issues. Every child does. I'm sure when I entered kindergarten, I brought my whole set of issues. But somewhere along the way, somebody treated me as an individual and taught me the person that taught the person that I was. And ideally, from my vantage point, the system would do that, so that the child who, I've got a grandson that we used to call a squirmy wormy because he couldn't sit still. He's now an 11-year-old who can't sit still, but yet he's found a system of education that accommodates his needs. I've often said that education works best when two things. One, children, teachers, and parents to create that three-legged stool that all work together. And two, when we educate one school at a time, one classroom at a time, one child at a time. And I think that our proposed amendment would be a catalyst for that. Indeed, I think if we're going to solve this problem with all that every child brings to the table, we are going to have to figure out a way to educate the individual child.
Thank you. We have a couple questions that kind of relate to parental rights. One asks, does the amendment take away parents' rights? Another one asks if it would inhibit parents' ability to homeschool their children.
To both questions, one word, two letters, no.
Okay.
Doesn't inhibit parental rights, doesn't interfere with the ability to homeschool. I mean, quite frankly, it hadn't occurred to me that somebody would suggest that. But looking at the plain language, I don't see how you get it out of there. And we heard
it this morning.
some of that this morning, and I tried to track it. I sort of tracked it, but I don't get it.
And by creating the civil right to the individual child, I mean, obviously that right will be sitting with the parents until the child is grown. And so what this fundamentally does is this empowers families. We think power needs to be given to families to help craft the education that their children need. So I think it's the opposite of what the concerns that have been expressed.
One of the points made this morning was that, well, you'll have the child who grows up and feels like they didn't have their right fulfilled, so that they will come back and sue the school or their parents or somebody. And I'm thinking, how does that going to work? I mean, I can't, as I sit here, I can't envision what the cause of action would be.
So we're getting close on time, and I know the conversation will continue. I think I'm going to end with this question, and then again we'll continue going. And it kind of circles back to the first set of questions I asked about. The question is, how will this amendment help us to actually bridge the opportunity gap? Sort of concretely, tangibly, what can we point to say that this will actually do it? All things considered, and we can certainly engage in these other issues elsewhere and other times.
Well, the feedback that we've heard from some legislators has been some are nervous about this amendment because what happens if the courts step in and do our jobs for us? We think this is a powerful motivator to all of you to not let that happen. Right? If you all come together and take your best ideas, and I know you have them, and say, okay, we're going to put politics aside and we're going to put our best ideas forward that really drive change to help children, it's going to lead to better outcomes for kids. And if it leads to better outcomes for kids, that's the change that we're all looking for. And so some have said, well, we could do this without your amendment. And I would respectfully say, why haven't you? We wouldn't be here if both parties have been able to come together and say, we're going to take all of our good ideas that really put children first. We would not be here. We would not need the amendment. And so that's why I think we're trying to solve a problem in our political system, not the individual legislators, but the problem in our political system that has led us to effectively the status quo.
Thank you so much. Justice Page, was something you want to add on that? I know I'm never cut off.
I
Justice
couldn't
Page.
say it better.
Good rule of thumb, right? Yeah.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Thanks both of you. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And please, members of the public, let's continue this discussion. I know there was a lot of questions, and we'll continue that. And then we're calling on Mr. Nagle as our next presenter. Sure. There's sort of. So as Mr. Nagle settles in, I will get him all set up. So Jeff Nagle is here from Chicago, the Erikson Institute, and has a focus on early childhood. And Mr. Nagle, we really appreciate you taking the trip to come here. Yeah, we'll let folks settle in and out.
Big one.
Quietly. Have another couple seconds? Okay. If others are coming and going, just make sure you do so quietly, please. Mr. Nagle, so glad to have you here. And I'm personally especially looking forward to this. And so please, why don't you just proceed, and then we'll move to questions at the end. So glad to have you.
Great. Thank you, Representative Pinto. Thank you for inviting me here today, and thank you all for having me this afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody here.
Can you make sure the microphone is picking you up well? You just have to just adjust it there. Okay.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to talk to you about the importance of early childhood. I know you're talking about education and educational achievement gaps and everything today, but certainly a lot of that roots back to early childhood. And so what I'm going to do is tell you a brief story here in my 20 minutes with you, broken down into 3 chapters. And I think any story about early childhood begins where we would all assume.
Well, Mr. Nagle, just pause for just a second if you can. We're trying to make sure that you're being picked up well, because the microphone seems like is not.
The other one.
Yeah, that's better.
The other one may be better. I guess that's going to bring you away a little bit. Right. Oh.
Is this any better?
A little bit, yeah. You may just need to sort of angle it so it's, and get kind of close to it and angle it so it's right at the end. You can bend it a little bit so it's
Okay.
going through your.
I hope
okay.
this is better.
Thank you.
It is better. Thank you
Okay,
much.
It is better. Great. Okay, so I was saying that we're just going to begin our little story where you would all assume, which is with germ theory, right? And that's not because of the coronavirus, but I think there is a historical context, as you even heard in the previous presentation. It is important when we think about all these issues is to really identify how we got here. And so germ theory goes back also to the time when education started in this country, which is 1850s. So it was only 170 years ago that we figured out that germs, some sort of microbe, some virus, a bacteria, actually causes disease. And that story started with this gentleman who was an obstetrician in Austria at the largest birthing hospital in Europe. And at the time, the real crisis was that a lot of women died during childbirth. In fact, 20% of the women died during that time. And so he figured out, kind of by happenstance, that there was something going on with the medical students who were examining the women in the maternity ward that was actually causing them to get sick. And so he came up with the crazy idea of creating a chlorine-based solution, having all the doctors wash their hands, and wanting to see what impact it had. And it took the mortality rate down from 1 in 5 to 1 in 50. So from 20% to 2%. So you think, eureka, right? Medical advance, science has discovered something. But in reality, he was so dismissed by his colleagues in the medical community, so ostracized for putting forth this new theory of how things can be, that the medical community got him committed to an insane asylum where he was beaten to death within 2 weeks of his committal. And what did he die of? Of an infection from the beating. So how we came to know that germs cause disease goes back to a figure that you probably have heard of, Louis Pasteur. He was famous at the time not for pasteurization, which came next, but for creating the first vaccines. But based on what he did with vaccines, he applied that to the wineries in France that were suffering a terrible time, and so they asked him to move his family down to the wineries, study the wine, and he came up with the pasteurization process of heating the wine to kill the bacteria. They didn't call it bacteria then, but to kill the bacteria, but preserving the flavor of the wine. And it was through that process, and then doing it with beer, right, so the important liquids of the time, wine and then beer, before we get to milk and dairy and all those things. And then that finding really influenced this gentleman who knew he was the father of modern surgery, who's Joseph Lister. And of course, we all know about Listerine. Well, Listerine started as he applied antiseptic solution to surgical instruments, because in the 1880s, if you unfortunately had to have surgery, you weren't getting clean instruments, because why would you clean them if you didn't know germs cause disease? But he started cleaning the instruments with this antiseptic solution. thereby tremendously cutting down on post-operative infection. Of course, you now use it as mouthwash, but it worked effectively at the time. But you see there a 30 to 40-year arc from something so basic. We would never want to live in a world where we did not accept that germs cause disease, and obviously we're living that out today. But you see what happened since then, the incredible innovation in healthcare. By the turn of the century, we were doing x-rays. Of course, we had antibiotics by 1930s, transplanting organs by the 50s, stem cell therapy and bone marrow transplants in the 80s, and antiviral drugs, immunotherapy now in the 2000s. And we expect these things to happen. We take for granted that there's going to be this kind of innovation. So now I get to chapter 2, which is probably more what you were expecting me to talk about, which is the road to educational success. And here it's really about early experience. I'm not talking just early childhood education, I'm talking early experience. Because early experience is in fact the smoking gun for both education success and long-term health. Now today I'm obviously just going to focus on the education side of that, but your slides and your handouts will have some additional slides on health. But basically what happens to us early in life, while they may not leave cognitive memories, we don't really remember things before the age of 4 or 5, but they do leave biological memories in our body. So the notion of it gets under your skin is what's happening to you early in childhood. Now, a lot of people have started paying attention to this over the last 20 years, and I know Minnesota's done a lot, because of what we've heard about the brain. And we hear a lot about, well, 85 or 90% of the brain is developed by age 3 or 95% by age 5. But just to be a little more specific, there's 7 major stages of brain development. All 7 of these stages begin during the prenatal period. The first 4 are completely finished by the time the baby's born. So when we're talking about influencing and supporting the developing brain, we're talking about those last 3. And I'm just going to spend two seconds here talking about these 2, cell connections and the synaptic pruning. Connections are synapses, because when a baby is born, they have 100 billion neurons, brain cells. And the name of the game then becomes getting these brain cells to connect. And they are connecting in an incredible number, 40,000 per second. Some estimates are even greater. But you don't want to have just the most connections, right? So if you want to have the most beautiful garden, you're not just trying to get the biggest, bushiest garden. You need to prune that garden down. And the same thing is going on with the brain. So in fact, at 2 years of age, you have more brain connections than any of us in the room. But as you see on this slide, by 6 years of age, you're already pruning them away. And the way you prune them is based on your experience. If you experience that you need this part of your brain, you're going to use it. And if you don't use it, you lose it. So it's very experience dependent. And the example I always like to give is language. When you're born, what language are you capable of speaking in your lifetime? And the answer is any language ever known to mankind. But what language will you speak? Or languages? It's the languages that you experience. Because the area of your brain, the language center of your brain, peaks in synapses and connections, the greatest potential, at 9 months. And what magical thing happens at 9 months of age? The baby says their first word. Give or take a month if you're worried about your baby. So mama, dada, that starts to come out, right? So that's because of what's happening in that section of the brain. So the brain has incredible plasticity, neuroplasticity. So it's adaptable and will be heavily influenced by positive experiences. And similarly, negative experience, or not the absence of the positive experience, but the brain will adapt accordingly. If it's a frightening, scary world, the brain will adjust for that. And so the developing brain will ebb and flow, good and bad, depending on the experiences they're having. And the best visual way to summarize this, when you think about a child who is not growing up in a safe environment, in a secure environment, maybe it's extreme poverty, maybe it's substance abuse in the home, violence outside of the home in the community, whatever the case may be. If you are an anxious or fearful person or child, these are the areas of the brain that get activated to help you deal with the anxiety and fear. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you the areas of the brain you use for memory and learning. And you'll see what changes. And in fact, nothing changes except the words above the slide. So you need the same areas of your brain to attend in class and pay attention and learn and remember things. But if you're anxious and fearful, that takes top priority. And that's where your resources are going to be diverted. So why I'm reviewing this for you, because I assume many of you know this, and this is why Minnesota has made the investments they have in early childhood, is because we get to successful schools. And that's what you're really talking about today with the achievement gap. And there's a lot of new information out there about what is going on with schools in the country. I know you're very focused on Minnesota. I'm going to talk globally. You all know your Minnesota schools way better than I do.
And members, we're on slide 23, just in case you're looking.
Thank you.
Members of the public as well. Thanks.
So in a basic notion, if I told you a school was getting third graders at the third grade level and moving them up to fourth grade at the fourth grade level and fifth grade at the fifth grade level, et cetera, you would basically say that's a successful school. It's doing what it was designed to do, which is educate kids 1 year at a time, keeping them on grade level. So this data that I'm going to show you here, these slides are actually from Stanford University, Sean Reardon. He looked at, in this age of big data, over 200 million test records in every school district in the country that has third through eighth grade. And so you're looking at this 5-year period for students, third through eighth grade nationally. And now I'm going to pick on a community I do know, which is my community, Evanston, Illinois, where Northwestern University is. And so the dotted line is where you'd be if you were just grade level at the right grade. So if you're above that dotted line, you're doing well. And you see the Evanston schools there are slightly above that line. They're slightly above at third grade. They're 2 years ahead at eighth grade. But when we look at the socioeconomic separation, and when I'm talking about what's listed here as poor, that's really a composite index of median income, percent of adults with bachelor's degree, unemployment rate, SNAP eligibility, percent of families headed by single parents. So it's not just a poverty indicator, it's a global poverty indicator. But in this, you see that the poor kids in Evanston are below where you'd want them in terms of grade level, but the non-poor kids are way above that line. And so you see this gap here, right? This is the gap we're talking about. How come the schools are having this gap? So that you see at eighth grade, there's almost a 4-year gap. But look what was going on at third grade. That 4-year gap was there. We know that the educational gaps emerge before the age of 2. They're statistically significant by 3. But what don't you see there? You don't see the gap increasing, right? You remember in your algebra class that you all love so much, and you talked about the slope of the line, and you're like, why the heck do I need to know about the slope of the line? Well, what you were learning was how to tell if 2 lines are parallel. And these 2 lines are parallel. The schools are not exacerbating the gap in Evanston, even though this is the largest achievement gap in the United States. But they didn't create the gap, and they didn't exacerbate the gap. They actually are educating these kids at the same rate, rich or poor. So is this the school problem, or is it what happened for the kids before they ever got to school? So urban centers like Chicago, you hear, are failing miserably. Since I moved to Chicago 6 years ago, all I heard was the Chicago public schools were a disaster. But in reality, what this data shows is that the Chicago public schools went from where they were at third grade, which was just above a first grade level, to almost catching up at eighth grade. And that meant they had 1.2 years of growth per year in each of those 5 years. So 6 years and 5 years. And that meant Chicago public schools was in the top 3% of schools in the United States. A very different story. Of course, we're not happy the kids aren't at grade level, but the school wasn't causing the problem. They were actually doing an exceptional job in trying to catch the kids up. So nationally, if we look at achievement, those reddish dots are the non-poor kids, the whitish dots are the poor kids. You see the higher level of achievement with the reddish dots. But if you look at growth, which is what the schools are doing, you see the dots are basically on top of each other. So on average, I'm not saying every school because there are good and bad schools, but on average, the story in the schools is that they are educating kids equally. They are not causing the problem. They are taking what they are given and then moving kids along on average equally. This data, if you do want to look at any of your specific districts, if you go to the New York Times website on December 5th, 2017, you can type in any district in the country and see exactly what's going on for yours. But I think this is really fascinating when you look at what's going on in Illinois, obviously a very similar state in many ways. We want our schools to get 1 grade level of achievement per year. So in a 5-year period, if you got 5 years, you would basically be an average school in the country, right on that line. If you were right there, that's a bullseye. Now, if you were able to get a little more growth, just 1.1 years for each of those years, which means in a 6-year period, in the 5-year period, you get 5.5 years, you would be a top 20% school in the country. Just that little bit of extra growth, that's how hard this is. If you were here getting 1.2 years, meaning 6 years in the 5 years, you would actually be a top 3%, right? That's how hard it is, just to get that little bit of extra growth that we're demanding from our schools. Let me show you what this really means. We're going to put this over here in the corner, and we're going to keep an eye on that red dot up there on the top right. This is the distribution of 8th grade scores in Illinois. Only 36% of our kids are proficient at 8th grade. The goal is 90%. 90% in 8th grade, 90% graduation, 90% college ready. That's the magic number. But look how hard it would be to make up that ground. If we got 1 extra year of growth, meaning that red dot got to be a top 3% school, that means every school in the entire state achieved top 3% in the nation. We got 1 extra year of growth. We'd only get to 58% of our kids proficient. If we got 7 years in the 5 years, no school in the country, district in the country is doing that. We would still only be at 77%. If we got 8 years in the 5 years, again, nobody's coming close to that, we would finally hit our goal. So if we allow the gap to happen at 3rd grade, our ability to catch up would literally take a miracle. So to close in chapter 3, it's time to innovate. Because as you heard about, the education system was really born in the 1850s, right? And it was this man, Horace Mann, who's the father of American public education. And he brought back the Prussian system to the United States. And what was that system? It was universal, non-sectarian, free, boys and girls, ages 5 to 14, tax-funded, compulsory, trained teachers, and an extended school year. High school was added after the Civil War. And yeah, we've gone from the one-room schoolhouse to our big, beautiful schools. And we've gone from, the romantic vision of the, wood-burning stove in the one-room schoolhouse to our classrooms with whiteboards. But it's still basically the same system. And when you think about what's happened in healthcare, from germs causing disease, x-rays, transplants, and everything that goes on, compared to what's happened in education in that same time period. We started providing lunch to low-income kids in the 40s. We desegregated schools in the 50s. We started giving low-income communities more federal money in the 60s. We started serving children with special needs in the 70s. We revised the way we served children with special needs in the 90s. We started testing the heck out of our kids in the turn of the century. And then we revised the way we test our kids a few years ago. But it's still basically the same system. It's like a hammer is still a hammer. It may be stronger, lighter material with a better grip, but we're still doing it the same way 1850. We didn't have electricity then. We didn't have telephone. We didn't have cars. We didn't have skyscrapers. But our education system has not evolved the way everything else has. So the question as we talk about the gaps are, if you were building the system today, would you start at age 5? So a few closing thoughts. I'm not talking about the importance of early childhood education or early learning or early childhood development. I'm talking about the totality of experience. All those other things are a piece of the experience. So we need to invest in early experience, not just early education, because risk will stay with us our entire life. We have to be comprehensive in our approach, and we need to build from prenatal up, not just from K-12 down. So you may hear a lot of policy and program opportunities and ideas that come to you from investing more in home visiting programs, universal pre-K for 3 or 4-year-olds, quality versus quantity, expanded subsidies or tax credits, scholarships, intensive focus on ages 0 to 3, pay parity, infant mental health services to address trauma, paid parental leave. But until we build a system of all of this, we're going to be nibbling at the edges, and you're going to be having these forums each and every year. It was almost 50 years ago that President Nixon vetoed universal child care as an entitlement in this country. And right now, all we're talking about is maybe pre-K in a lot of places. This was big news at the time. Front page, left column above the fold, New York Times, President vetoes child care plan. We're not even having that conversation where we were 48 years ago. It took less time for something as essential as germs causing disease to be accepted, and we can't even get this right, despite the fact that we know that it all starts at the very beginning. The 1,100 days is our foundation for the rest of our lives. It's our window of opportunity. And as we talk about equity and opportunity, that starts the day you are born. And it's really our charge to get that right from the beginning. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nagle, and a reminder to folks to feel free to send questions over. We have a question about the impact of trauma. Can I ask members and everyone to quiet down, please? Talk about the impact of trauma on brain development, and especially intergenerational trauma is what the question asks, but I think you can also to talk just a little more about that if you can.
Sure.
Please.
So, we're learning more and more about the developing brain, and as I mentioned, that negative experiences isn't just the absence of positive experiences, it actually will inform the way the brain develops. So if you are growing up in a place where there's trauma, you need to adapt to that because you are dealing with an existential threat, and your brain will therefore prepare for the scary, frightening, dangerous world that you live in. And so that's going to change literally the chemistry of your makeup. So to deal with stress, and that's what we're talking about here, to deal with stress, your body secretes certain chemicals. In children who are dealing with chronic trauma in very compromised neighborhoods where there's constant violence, this kind of situation, we're not talking about a bad day, we're talking about bad weeks, months, or even years for our children. Your chemistry will change so that how you are prepared to deal with your environment. So if you look at the chemistry of children who are in a more traumatized environment, you're going to see a different composition of stress hormones. It's kind of like a permanently elevated. So in a child care setting, you may see that kid as the overactive, overreactive. We label that child as hyperactive or conduct disorder, but maybe they're just dealing with a very dangerous world. And so anyone that just comes up and takes something from them or that they perceive as a threat, not necessarily consciously, but they respond accordingly because they live in a very frightening, dangerous world. And as adults, we have to understand that a lot of their behaviors aren't necessarily intentional. It is the way they have learned that they have to function in the world. And again, it's incumbent upon the adults to help them address that. And the way adults and children deal with trauma are very different. And that's what makes it very difficult, because adults, generally speaking, try to avoid and contain the negative thoughts and fears, whereas children want to act them out, talk about them, play, through their play, through drawings and whatever. And those come in conflict, especially if the adults they're with, their parents, have also been traumatized. So it gets very complicated, but it does have a permanent impact on that developing child's brain architecture.
Thank you. A question, you mentioned infant mental health, and if you could just define that for us, I think that may be a concept that's not familiar for folks.
Sure. So a lot of people have struggled with the notion of a young child having mental health issues. It isn't about putting a child on the couch and asking them, their feelings of their parents. But what infant mental health is all about relationship. For early childhood, I was talking about early childhood experience. How do young children experience the world? They experience the world through relationships, through their parents, their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, their child care providers, their teachers. They are totally dependent on the adults in their life, and that's how they experience the world. If we think about poverty, a child, an infant, doesn't care that they're impoverished. They care when that poverty is keeping their parents from them because they're working 2 or 3 jobs, or that their parents are so stressed out from the food insecurity or not being able to provide for their family that they're not able to attend to the needs of the child. Everything the child experiences is through the relationships with the adults in the world. So infant mental health is about treating the relationship, the attachment. You hear about attachment theory and secure attachment. Those, in fact, end up being what stands behind children to create the resiliency that we want for our children. And so when you do see kids overcome and are the ones who kind of pull themselves up by their bootstraps, they don't do that alone. If you ask questions about how did they succeed, how did they overcome, you will always hear answers about the key adults in their life who were there behind them, who loved them unconditionally, who loved them through thick and thin, and helped them get through. You know, every kid needs at least one adult in their life who is wildly, irrationally in love with them. And if they have that, that's a huge asset and resource that can help them overcome.
Are there other state models, question here, that we can look to that are doing a great job integrating early health, nutrition, learning programs for vulnerable children and getting the best results?
Yeah, I don't think we can point to one state who's doing all of the above. I think all of those things are happening in one-off. Some states are doing 2 or 3 of those. Some states are talking about it a lot more and becoming much more intentional, but they need the dollars to follow. You know, what really needs to happen in this country to do all of the things, because there's a ton of science. We know what needs to be done, but to do them at the scale is what is the struggle. And it's a struggle for the states, who of course have to do it in a balanced budget. But what we really need is an infusion from the federal government. We need to be spending about 1% of our GDP on our young children, about $200 billion a year from the federal level. If we did that, all of those things on my policy slide we'd be able to do, and then we would the charge would be about doing them with the quality and integrity to the way that we know are the most effective. But it's a big, expensive proposition, and what are you going to stop doing to start making these investments? That's what you all struggle with every day. And so we keep incrementally nibbling at this, and yet we're still frustrated that we're not seeing the changes. But we're not seeing the changes because you can't do a little bit, and it's only 1,100 days to get this right, and that's the foundation for these kids. And so every 3 years, we're missing a whole nother generation. So there is great urgency, and the sooner we start shifting our systems, the quicker we'll be able to address this if and when, because I think the day is coming where we will see much more federal support, which will allow the states to really make the proper investments.
Thank you. And I'm going to give Representative Moran the last question. Really appreciate it.
So you talk about trauma, historical trauma. And so I maybe want to share a little story, and you let me know how this impacts children when they're in school. There's a little boy who's in a classroom, and we have a uniform policy where kids are in their seats, and you have to raise your hand. But the teacher began to notice that every time someone would raise their hand, that their child would run out the classroom, run down the stairs, and would be like really, really upset. And eventually she found out that the child was being hit. So every time someone would raise their hand, the fear of the brain, right, will automatically trigger the child to run because he thought they would be hurt. So what do you think of we've been talking about trauma-informed policies and practices in the state of Minnesota. Do you think having that knowledge and information can help teachers better manage kids' and behavior and see individual children and their needs?
Yes, I mean, that's a great story, a perfect example of when a child is behaving a certain way, it then comes to the adult, how do we interpret that behavior? Are they doing it intentionally to be disruptive to the class or cause a commotion? Or is it triggering something for the child that is very real, very legitimate, and quite understandable if you knew more of the story? You know, I happened to have lunch with a police officer in Chicago the other day, and he was a school resource officer for a number of years. And he said whenever he was called into the schools, which is kind of crazy enough the way we call police into the schools to deal with young kids, he would walk into that room with that child, and the first thing he would say to them is, tell me what's going on at home. He never said, what happened today? Why am I here with you? Type of thing. He always knew there was something going on behind the scenes. And he said he was never wrong about that. And once he asked the question, the child was happy to tell him about it, wanted to talk about it. And so I do think this is the disconnect between the adults and the jobs and tasks we have to do versus really putting ourselves in the shoes of the child and understanding how is the child experiencing whatever is going on. So we deal with this all the time. So like in foster care, we move kids around from placements. But we do that because of the adults in the system, and we often lose sight of how does the child experience this disruption in placement. So in your school setting, the school example you just gave, how is the child experiencing when the teacher raises the hand? To many of us, you say, well, that's kind of an extreme reaction. Obviously, people are raising their hands all the time in a school setting, yet there was a very legitimate reason. And so we do have to all become more sensitive to the fact of what are the experiences of these children. We like to, idealize the childhood period, but we know that a lot of our children are growing up in very challenging, compromising environments.
Mr. Nagle, thank you so much for making the trip again and for this really enlightening presentation. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And I'll ask the superintendents to come up, and I'll turn things over to Chair Dabney.
Yeah, sorry, we missed each other back. You guys superintendents.
Good afternoon. Members and members of the public who are present today will see that we're trying to balance kind of a foreground and a background look at the racial disparities in education in Minnesota. The big policy overviews and then but also the more ground level school impact and experiences. And we've got a valuable panel to help us look a little bit closer at the experience of our students in our schools today, and that's this panel of superintendents from around the state. And I appreciate you all being here. I'll ask each of you, before you speak, to introduce yourself for the tape and then proceed. I know you have coordinated, and I'm grateful that you have coordinated your presentation. Thank you. Welcome to the committee, or welcome to this symposium. Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Dabney and members of the House Committee. My name is Asten Osei, Superintendent of St. Louis Park Public Schools, and I would like to begin our time together this afternoon with a quote from education scholar Dr. Asa G. Hilliard. He once said, "I have never encountered any children in any group who are not geniuses. There is no mystery on how to teach them. The first thing to do is to treat them like human beings, and the second thing is to love them." I believe this quote is fitting as it relates to the work of Reimagine Minnesota. And in front of you, you can see the 9 strategies of Reimagine Minnesota. And I believe this is fitting because I view the framework, these strategies, as a framework for humanizing the educational experience of all students in the state of Minnesota. In 2016, superintendents asked the Association of Metropolitan School Districts to form an ad hoc committee to develop a collective action plan to address integration, access, opportunity, and educational excellence for all students. I would like to take a moment to thank Executive Director Scott Kroonquist and the board members of AMSD at that time who made the decision to lean into this work. What is most powerful about the strategies of Reimagine Minnesota is that at the core of the strategies are the beliefs of the communities we serve. In 2017, as a part of the process to develop the strategies, school districts across the metro area engaged parents, students, cultural representatives, community members, business leaders, and other education stakeholders to participate in a process to reimagine Minnesota and conceptualize a new model for education that is designed to create more inclusive, culturally supportive, and anti-racist learning environments. This morning, you heard from the state demographer about the changing demographic composition of our state. Our E12 education system is the foundation for the upcoming workforce, yet our educational data and statistics show that schools and school districts need to improve all of the educational markers that serve as benchmarks for success in the current educational system. Shortly, my superintendent colleagues will provide some examples of how these strategies are being implemented in their school districts. I would ask that as they are sharing, that you hold on to the words of Dr. Hilliard that I shared at the opening, and I know that we can fix the predictable and systemic challenges that we are facing. In St. Louis Park, we believe that in order to do this, it requires an anti-racist mindset, anti-racist policy, and anti-racist practices of the adults that have the privilege to educate, love, and humanize the students of St. Louis Park Public Schools on a daily basis. We recognize that it will not happen overnight, just as these systems and predictable challenges were not created overnight. And at this time, I would like to pass the mic to Dr. Theresa Battle of District 191.
Dr. Battle, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Dabney and members of the committee. I'm Theresa Battle, Superintendent of Burnsville-Eagan-Savage, District 191. We turn our attention to creating inclusive, culturally supportive, and anti-racist learning environments. We are using these data slides to demonstrate the need for creating these types of environments. Minnesota's population is growing more diverse. You are aware of the gaps in achievement, access, and opportunity between American Indian and children of color and their white peers. I'd like to share with you how District 191 is creating environments that support each child. First, for our students to be successful academically, we must provide inclusive, culturally supportive, and anti-racist learning environments. Equity goals and learning goals should be in sync, not in silos. For students to be successful, school systems need to have clearly stated strategies that are used to guide work. In our district, we have the strategic roadmap and Vision 191 that first started in 2015. This strategic roadmap brings clarity and organizational focus in areas such as curriculum, professional development, school improvement planning, and in our work to become a culturally proficient school system. This roadmap is foundational in our work as educators to ensure an environment that sets students up for success. Culturally proficient school systems is an integral part of 191 schools and districts. It is an asset-based approach to welcoming, celebrating, and teaching each student. Staff members begin, including me, with an inside approach to understanding our own values, beliefs, and assumptions, with the ultimate goal of creating a place where all students are seen, valued, and can bring their own unique cultural, racial, and learning styles to the classroom. There are 4 tools of culturally proficient school system, and I'd like to just highlight one. The continuum describes both healthy and unhealthy policies, practices, and individual values and behaviors that can support or not support children. The left side of the continuum includes unhealthy practices such as cultural destructiveness, incapacitation, blindness. In 191, we strive to be on the other side of the continuum. Pre-competence, competence, and cultural proficiency. We also focus on the whole child. We recognize that children are much more than test scores. We focus our energy on individual students, their passions, their academic needs, and their social emotional well-being. Our schools have also developed multi-tiered systems of support, better known as MTSS. We provide individualized learning, which includes interventions and enrichment opportunities. We have students who are learning English as a second language. We value that they come with assets. They're bilingual, and many are multilingual. It's incredible to witness their growth as they build upon this knowledge of 2 or more languages. They represent our community. We believe they have, all of our students, including our English language learners, have incredible gifts, unique cultures, and life experience that enhance our school. The next slide, I want to share of why we think we were able to beat the odds on the 3rd grade assessment, reading assessment. So English language learners at each elementary school showed greater progress toward English proficiency than the state average. What makes them successful? We are in the 3rd year of implementation of a literacy curriculum, being a reader and making meaning. In the reading curriculum, we embed social skills development. We believe all students have social and emotional needs, so we have invested in full-time social workers in every building. Because of the support we have in place, the students are able to feel safe, supported, so they can focus on learning. And lastly, our wonderful and talented teachers and other school staff hone their skills to differentiate instruction for each child. They work tirelessly to deliver engaging teaching practices to motivate and inspire our learners. Thank you for your time, and now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Superintendent Kim Hiel.
Thank you, Dr. Battle. Good afternoon, Chair Dabney and members of the committee. I am Kim Hiel, proud superintendent of Fridley Public Schools. And it is a privilege here for us today to be able to present to you. A lot of data has been shared today to address some of the needs around disproportionality in the use of exclusionary practices. This data will help to reflect the why and the urgency behind this issue. As you can see, in the state of Minnesota, there are discrepancies in how suspensions are carried out in our suspension system. As you reflect on the slide that is shown, it shows us that black students are 6.2 times more likely to be suspended than our white students. Our Latinx students are 2.4 times more likely to be suspended than our white students. Our white students are 1.4 times as likely to be suspended as our Asian, Pacific Islander, and Native Hawaiian students. And students of 2 or more races are 3.2 times as likely to be suspended as our white students. This morning, Dr. Bernadette Johnson also shared more data around the disproportionality on suspension. The impact of this can be seen. If a student is not in class or not in school, they're not learning. If they're not learning, they probably have a smaller chance of graduating. And if they're not graduating, they're going to have a smaller chance of receiving jobs. So exclusionary practices have long-term impact on our students, on them as children, as they turn into adults, the experience that they will have in life, and then it impacts our society as a whole. So we've heard all the data today. We've heard quite a bit of data today. And one thing that we do want to present to you as a superintendent panel, we do suspect action. When we do come and we present often, we want to make sure that you understand this is just not another meeting for us. This is life for us, and we would like to have some action from the data that we present. So we presented data today. Now what? So schools across the district has been working on strategies to increase inclusionary practices. So today our panel is going to share what some of our districts are doing. In Fridley Public Schools, we are starting to work on these strategies. We have painstakingly taken steps to establish a consistent and systemic response to student behavior and progress monitoring of data. It is imperative that when deciding to suspend, or we'll name it what it is, to restriction of learning, that there is a consistent system in which that is evaluated. This year, we are developing consistent processes of training our administration staff on pre-suspension protocols for out-of-school suspension so that all of our administrators are understanding the why behind if we decide to exclude from learning, why that is occurring. We're working on developing and implementing consistent district-wide post-suspension review process for out-of-school suspensions so our students are welcomed back into the school system that they were uninvited to. We hold monthly meetings with principals and all administrators with each building, with the building student management team, with the Director of Educational Services, and with myself, where we individually review discipline data each month. We assess the type of suspensions, why they occurred, the areas in which they occurred, and is it segregated by race, gender, and disability status. During this time also, we look at what interventions have been taking place, what's working, and what is not working. We continually slow down and intentionally take the time to focus on the why, by why a suspension has occurred. We personally have someone in a position this year that is assessing referrals written and how to support our staff. We have to make sure we're also supporting our staff in the system on how to handle issues in the classroom. We're also working on referrals to see where our students need to proactively help our students when incidences are occurring. We've heard a lot today about trauma, and a lot of times with trauma we've talked about from the environments where the students have lived or things that have happened from their lack of food. But I do want to make sure we understand today that there is racial trauma. We should never forget that. Today, when we had our students speak today, I do want to ensure that you understand when you bring a child in front of you, you will draw racial trauma out of that child. So I hope you take it seriously when we have our young people sitting here, that we're stirring up old emotions. So one of the things we want to make sure we're looking at as well, when addressing students or when there's issues in the classroom, that we're looking, did racial trauma play an impact as well? We also, some other strategies that we've worked on creating a positive and equity-focused school climate. Equity is used often. I've been in a year and a half in Fridley, and we wanted to make sure I've added that we have an equity and inclusion. We passed an equity and inclusion policy last year. We have district-wide implicit bias training. We have evaluations where everyone in the district is evaluated on cultural competency, as well as everyone in our district as well works on an equity journal. I'm going to stop so Mike will have a chance to speak. Go ahead.
Thank you. Chair Dabney, Mike Muñoz, Superintendent, Rochester Public Schools, and I'm going to really shorten my presentation since I saw the 5 signs show up here.
There's more of us. We should have 5 times.
I'm going to share some of the same examples. We did spend a lot of time working with our administration and our community and staff and students on revising our discipline handbook. And really, we're a PBS district, so we have level 1 behaviors, which are behaviors that all of our expectation is that teachers handle them within the classroom, and then we have level 2, which warrants an office referral. So we really want to make sure that behavior in building A was the same at behavior building B. So we spent a lot of time on defining what those behaviors are and making sure we are consistent on how we are going to address those. We also, in the handbook, there's only 3 reasons that a student can be suspended. If it's anything beyond that, the administration has to call the district office and have a conversation about that before they would warrant a suspension. We do have spent a lot of time working on culturally responsive teaching. We've spent 4 years working with Dr. Sharaki Holly, and not only have we trained the teachers and given the strategies, we've also used him and his consultants and our staff to go into classrooms, observe, and give teachers feedback on using those particular strategies that they're learning. And then we do review data regularly. We have a district administrator who meets monthly, one-on-one with the building administration. They go over their discipline data, break it down even to individual students and say, for example, let's talk about this student who has 4 office referrals this month. Let's talk about what have you done, what do you need to do. So, and then I think probably something a little bit differently is we really understand that we have some students who the traditional classroom environment is just not working for them. So we've created an elementary and a middle school, we call it a right fit program, and it's really more project-based. It's not teaching in the traditional way, the same standards, but doing it much differently. And we're starting to see some good success at that, and I better stop there to leave time for my colleague.
Yeah, that's quite all right. Steve Unowsky, Superintendent, Richfield Public Schools. And my role is talking about attracting and retaining staff of color, something that the legislature has been very supportive of. And we need to really begin thinking about the barriers that already exist. The barriers where we're asking our staff of color to come into an environment that can be unwelcoming, that undervalues staff of color. We don't support them effectively, and we're expecting them to overcome systemic racism. Given much of the data we've actually heard here today, we're also asking staff of color to come into a field where we've probably underserved them as schools. As a white leader, which many of us in this room are, it can be very hard to see some of those barriers. Thankfully, we actually have one very visible one right now. I'm actually in a group where I'm sitting next to 30% of the superintendents of color in the state of Minnesota. Wow. Counteracted that, I am 1/3 of 1% of the white superintendents in the state of Minnesota. So what that means is we're asking people to come into a field where their leader will most likely not look like them. There are 25 of me for every one of them. Similarly, at the same time, Richfield Public Schools has been very successful, and our teachers of color are at 11%. The state is at 5%. I believe that in the most diverse staff in the state of Minnesota, 18% is the teachers of color. Now think about this for a second. I'm just going to talk to the white people in the room for a second, and we've been sitting for a while. I'm going to see if I can get anybody to stand up. If you are a white person in this room and you go to a work environment that is 82% or more a race other than your own, stand up for me, will you? So white person, 82%, a race other than your own. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you very much. 5 people in this room. I'm going to guess, looking around the room, that's about 5%. So 5% of the white people in this room are actually working in an environment where they are 18% of the minority or less. However, we're asking our teachers, our new teachers freshly out of school, to come and work in that environment where we probably, again, have underserved them. Now, that said, you all have done some incredible things as a legislature, and we as districts use your support and funding to provide mentoring, affinity groups, innovative partnerships with colleges to launch school to counseling and licensure pipelines. We work with our students and employees to get licensure, and we work tirelessly to have anti-racist efforts and professional development with students, staff, and our community. As a legislative body, what you can actually do is really think about the incredible ask we are having of young people of color and recognize that it takes incredible efforts from you in terms of funding, support, and legislation to actually make those successful. With that, I'm going to turn it over. Open. Oh.
All right. All right. Well, let's just say you have sparked a significant number of questions, requesting a little more insight. Let's start with, can you clarify how you define an anti-racist learning environment versus a fair or equal learning environment, which I would suggest is what we've been asking for historically?
Thank you
Superintendent
for the question.
Asten?
So as we look at this, and what we recognize is that using the term racism or racist or anti-racism would suggest that in order to be anti-racist, the way we use it in St. Louis Park, it means to recognize that there have been systems that have been designed over time that have traditionally marginalized students. So an anti-racist mindset is by examining those systems and creating new practices, policies, and it really starts with the school board, right? So reviewing and examining all of our policies and looking at those policies and recognizing which one of those policies are contributing to the disproportionality, right? So you heard several leaders talk about discipline. Well, every school district has a policy 506, right? And what is required in an anti-racist mindset is to create systems, right, that promote equity. Right, and when we're talking about promoting equity, we're talking about promoting racial equity, and equity is not equality, right? So there's a difference, right? So it's making sure people have what they need. So at the core of that is really driving to promote systems that drive equity.
So on that similar line on the discipline, why do you think students of color are far more likely to be suspended than their white peers? What do teachers need to do or can do to provide an alternative to suspension? And what training are you providing your teachers to try to get to a less disproportionate system?
Sure. I can take
I'll take the first part.
Thank you.
As the baby, only girl after 5 brothers, and a mother to 1 son. So I am beginning to reflect on our current student handbook in my district and seeing, as my colleagues have pushed me, that many of the discipline information is based on the criminal code. Mm-hmm. So as a black woman who has a black father in this country, and we know the implications of how people view black men. And so I wanted to say that first is the root of the discipline problem, and that may lead to disproportionality, especially for black males. And I'll let my colleagues take
Yeah, I would add to that, part of the training that our staff have been getting, they're trained to do what they call VABing, validate, affirming, and bridging. And the first question we ask our staff when for example, a student of color misbehaves in the classroom, the first question they need to ask themselves before they react is this a cultural thing, or is it just a student misbehaving? A lot of times, with the numbers that my colleagues shared, majority of our staff are white, so they have their own personal experiences to bring to the table, which are different than our students of color. So they have to first recognize that they're coming from a different place than their students are. You validate that culture difference, but the bridging is you have to we believe we have to teach them in this environment, you have to behave this certain way. I'm not dissing your culture or your experiences. I acknowledge them, I affirm them, but in my classroom, this is the type of behavior we have to have in order for us all to learn.
And what I wanted to add, so in St. Louis Park, and I think you'll hear a little bit about this later, we have several teachers here from St. Louis Park that will talk about the work that we're doing, but we really believe that it starts with each individual adult in the building, understanding how they see the world through a racialized lens, recognizing that all of us, right, have been exposed to this social construction of race, and intentionally or not, we have beliefs about people based on the color of their skin. So where we start at is really helping our educators and staff understand who they are racially and how some of those unintentional beliefs about others may be showing up. And then what we also recognize in doing that is that it's not done in this manner of blame or shame, but it's done in this manner of wanting to not only humanize our children, but humanize the adults that are in front of the children. And Dr. Unowsky eloquently showed how the majority of adults in front of children in our schools, right, potentially have had different racialized lived experiences. And with that, our school systems are developed and set up in this white cultural normed or valued system. And on the surface, there's nothing wrong with that. But where that becomes a problem when there's no space for other cultural values or norms to show up in that educational environment. So the work that we're trying to do is to make sure that there is a balance of how the culture and norms are able to show up in school systems so that everyone can be humanized and loved in that environment.
Oh, we've got the speaker exercising her privilege here. Madam Speaker.
I just wanted to share, we had implicit bias training for legislators in 2018 and 2019, and it was okay. But to the extent that you had trainers who delivered really effective implicit bias training, we would be interested in learning, because you have probably all seen a lot of different entities that provide that training and some that do it with varying degrees of success. And we would really appreciate having that information, as it will now be a consistent part of new legislator training.
We have time for one last question, and I think it's in much the same vein. And the question from the audience member is, which district and/or state policies were or are the biggest barriers to implementing anti-racist whole child service models to the fidelity that our students deserve? And before you all answer, Dr. Muñoz, looked like you were leaning.
Yes, I'm not going to go a policy route. I'm going to, I've sat through the two previous speakers, and they both said our systems need to change. And I really believe that the school system as a whole needs to be blown up and start all over. I've been in public education 40-plus years, and I would bet if all of you looked at our current graduation requirements, they'd be the same that you had when you graduated from high school. Our students have changed, not only the changes that we're talking about, other changes, but our system is the same. We chip around the edges and hope it works. It's time to, in my opinion, to give districts the ability to be innovative and try totally different things to meet the needs of all of our students.
Other superintendents?
I just think
Superintendent Unowsky?
often we are not courageous enough to actually acknowledge what we know is going to happen. And so what I would say as legislators is, look at the legislation and the policy and ask yourself, what's the outcome going to be? So if we know that a specific test is going to have white students on top and black students on the bottom, and if we know that a specific policy is going to have black children suspended and white children not, we know that other actions have to be taken around that, and that is something that has to be changed. And part of that is acknowledging that every single kid is our responsibility. And so it's not just a policy for one set of folk, but something that we could actually not predict by race what the outcome is as we read the words on the paper.
Any of the other superintendents wish to respond? It's an invitation.
I'll share a very discrete part of policy that we still receive our funding based on seat time. So we've heard for many years about reforming high schools. So that's a limit, that our funding is based on seat time. Our high school students have very different lives. Some need to work, they need to go to school. And so how do we reform the high schools and look at those very discrete pieces of policy that are becoming barriers for us?
No, I'm good. No, go ahead.
I think what I would add to that, and you'll hear more about this shortly, but so in St. Louis Park, we utilize our ATPPS or QComp dollars specifically to engage, sustain, and deepen conversations about race with our teachers and other staff members. And one thing that could change is that we require all school districts to use those dollars in that format.
I want to thank you all for taking the time out of
Can I
your
just say
schedules
one
today.
thing?
Oh, I'm sorry, Superintendent Hiel. You deferred, and I let you get away with that. Thank you
And
for
I'm from
stepping up.
Chicago. I don't know where the Minnesota Knights came from.
Please.
Just in ensuring that for this work, you're going to need courageous leaders to do this work. So even direction coming from the state down. So when you do have a tendency to have your courageous leaders doing this work, the work will start and then they'll disappear. So just being able to protect this work, and we're here today, we're understanding that this is the work that you want done, and then in some places this work is not being done. So if we want the proper transformational leaders in this work, we need to make sure that we're supported in that work. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the goals of today was to take a bold and clear look at racial disparities in education in Minnesota. Thank you for your significant contributions to that today.
Well, Dr. Mary Perry Reed was deputy here. She was my kid.
All right. We'll give the room a moment to clear.
I didn't know. Don't
Turn over.
use that gavel.
Pardon?
Gavel.
They didn't get it to me in the morning. It's only the members of She put an excerpt in and I got passed the copy. I haven't had a chance to sit down. I'd seen Robin DeAngelo speak, my church daughter. I got a bunch of
Oh, good. I did take one on my phone if you want it. Yeah, sure, no worries.
Good afternoon. Members and audience, we have a privilege today of having our Teacher of the Year here.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Jessica Davis, and I am the current Minnesota State Teacher of the Year. Thank you. You have heard from several sources today, educators, students, administrators, and citizens, all of whom are interested in closing and eventually eliminating Minnesota's persistent and embarrassing opportunity gap. There have been many solutions proposed, some more practical than others with various levels of clarity and implementation or timeline. And it is true, education is about a better tomorrow. Education can be an equalizer that offers new opportunities, put your phone away, to students who would be otherwise, says the teacher. Education can be an equalizer that offers new opportunities to students who would otherwise be locked out. But that said, we cannot lose sight of right now. My students are not future humans. Their humanity and validity as sentient human beings doesn't begin in a few years from now when they graduate, hopefully. My fellow speakers and I are here to offer insight to proven solutions that can be implemented now, because we all know that the needs are urgent. Our students, they cannot wait. Our Minnesota schools have class sizes that are rising. We have one of the worst counselor to student ratios in the country, and our graduation rates for our students of color and our students receiving special education services are unacceptable. And yet, almost every issue that has been raised here today could be lessened and or solved with one simple thing: adequate funding and resources. The way that we currently fund education intentionally maintains disparities in income, and it leaves our most vulnerable families at risk and behind. By ignoring these disparities, we are passing along a debt of conscience to our future generations, with a price that we will all eventually pay that is only getting steeper. Let's be real here. In Minnesota, we have stacked the deck against our poorer communities and our rural communities, and honestly, we have stacked the deck against our Black and brown communities. Denying adequate and equitable funding to our schools here in Minnesota is a denial of the American dream that we are all promised. And to be frank, it is racist. But it's more than that. It is damaging to our metro communities. It is damaging to our rural communities. It is damaging to places that can't pass a levy. It is damaging to our indigenous reservations. It is damaging to who we are as Minnesotans. And it's manifested in the statistics that we see that has brought us all here today. Many have heard me say that the obstacles that students of colors face have a profound impact on the way those students experience education. And one of the most troubling obstacles is the inadequate opportunity for students to witness the educational system being modeled by educators who look like them. Deliberate funding with intentional efforts to increase recruitment and retention of teachers of color could enhance countless benefits. Benefits that include richer curricular offerings, higher expectations and test scores, less bias, fewer disciplinary actions, and lower special education referrals. Studies have even shown that teachers of color have positive impacts on white students as well, all contributing to healthier communities with more understanding around racial and social injustices. Where I work in South St. Paul, we've demonstrated intentional equity through the support of our affinity groups to celebrate and elevate all students. The groups provide safe spaces for students of color, women, and our LGBTQ+ populations to share their unique perspectives and experiences in education. Our students have embraced leadership opportunities, public speaking, and mentoring within their own community. And they continue to inspire organizations around the Metro to celebrate the power of student action, subsequently increasing engagement in school for both students and staff, all while including and validating the diverse identities of our changing population. These efforts have earned our groups awards for their commitment to their own learning and education. Our students deserve to see their faces at the front of the room and be inspired to become leaders invested in their education and themselves. We must validate the experiences that diverge from the norm through intentional programming that reimagines educational spaces that not only accept alternative perspectives, but challenges the status quo. Each system is perfectly designed to achieve the results that it gets. True change doesn't happen without the voices of all of the stakeholders at the table. True change happens when we take an intentional look at how our systems are designed and make improvements to ensure that we are consistently learning together. My ask is that we see the system that produces our current educational outcomes and understand our own roles in modeling it to achieve the outcomes that we all truly want. Invest in our students right now to invest in Minnesota's future. Turn it over to Mr. Muñoz.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Mr. Muñoz, welcome. Please introduce yourself and introduce the Coalition of Community Schools, if you would. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is José Muñoz. I'm the director for the Coalition for Community Schools, and I am extremely honored to be here in you all's presence and right in the presence of Ms. Davis right here. Great job. But I got to say, I'm very humbled also about who I represent, and that's the young children here. So the Coalition for Community Schools is a national alliance between local, state, and national partners whose real purpose is to make sure children have the ability to achieve their hopes and fulfill their social responsibility. And I got to tell you, I'm changing my testimony some here because I was so moved by the different testimonies of this morning that it'll be hypocritical of me not to follow the very belief system that I'm up here standing for. So we heard today from 3 young people. We heard the one at 9 o'clock, and then at 10:45, we heard from 2 more young people. And then I had a great chance to have a conversation with 2 young people from North St. Paul. Where are you? Over there? Yeah, from North, I got it right? North St. Paul Minnesota, and then a chance to hear from Ms. Davis. And the whole time I'm sitting here listening in the audience here, I kept hearing these young people express what their hopes are and what their desires are from us as adults. And so to put that into action, I want to make sure that the young lady who presented this morning and the two presented at 10:45, I want our organization to give them each a $2,000 scholarship towards their education, for whatever they need, and I want to put forth that. We need to practice what we're preaching up here right now, too. I want from Ms. Davis, we talked briefly, and you have a leadership group at your school, and I was asking you, trying to pull out something from you, but you were so humble about it. I want to give you $2,000. Yes, we got to practice. We got to practice these things. We can't keep talking about it. We got to put the ball in the play right here. And for those two young ladies,
We're taking names here at the front of the room. You might want to be careful.
I hope we do. Let's get long. Their names, so somebody's going to have to give them to me. But the two young ladies from North St. Paul, Minnesota, we had a conversation about what you can do and what prevents you from doing it. And you talked about pulling people together to take care of the mental health issues that your young people are facing. You talk about the inequities that was causing. I want to give you $2,000 because you said, you know what can we do? You said, what can we do? What can we do is only 3 of us in here. So I want to work with you, and not only $2,000, I want to mentor you. And I'll give you my number here, and we'll think through what you can do. Yeah. So, and I have notes, and I'm totally messed up from my notes right now. Because they stirred me up. They stirred me up. So if you know the names of those people, see me later afterwards, so we can make sure.
We'll get you.
We can.
We'll get you. We'll get you names
those
later.
presentations right now.
We'll let you get it back on track.
Sure. It backed up every study that we read and every study that we have, that the reason young people aren't doing well educationally isn't classroom, it's communal. Yeah. It's our responsibility as adults to do what we can, even when we think we can't. Often, our weakness is actually made perfect. We're made perfect. The power is made perfect in our weakness. When we just start to act, when we hear things. And so we have to make ourselves just readily available and instantly obedient. Now that $10,000 is actually coming from conference registrations. We have a big conference coming up. And, it's scary to make that commitment, especially with the coronavirus and our conference is in. It is. So we've been having conferences all week because California declared a state of emergency, and I've had to fly out to California into this month to see what we're going to do. So this is despite not knowing that I'm going to have to pay a whole bunch of money back. But that's what we got to do. When we talk about making some real change, when we talk about eliminating gaps, not closing gaps, when we talk about achieving equity and not equality. The Brown versus Board of Education has failed because we haven't yet achieved equality. I'm a parent of 5. I have 5 children. At one point, I had a child on every single grade level from early childhood to college. It would have been impossible if their neighborhood school didn't have the right resources and opportunities for them as for children. And if I had to travel around town or put them on public transportation, which I see in Washington, D.C. now, I had to break up a potential fight on my way here on the platform of the metro train in Washington, D.C. between a group of young black men and another man of another ethnicity descent, simply because there's no one to mentor them. And that's what happens sometimes unintentionally when we do things but not resourcing the local school right in their own neighborhood. If my kid couldn't cross the street and go to school, or walk down the street and go to high school, and down the street and go to middle school, and I couldn't trust the adults in there, it'd be a totally different situation. So what stops us, right, is talk about poverty. There's a lot of talk about poverty around here too. That's poverty. What does it do? It causes isolation. It causes us to do things in desperation, and it causes depression. But the big thing it does is really begins the fear of going into poverty is causing economic segregation. And because of that, we're afraid to lose what's ours. So I had to demonstrate right now in front of everybody, although, yes, I'm afraid of what this conference now is closing down, that I have to demonstrate that I'm more interested in those young people doing well. And I know that you all will make that small 10% grow much bigger than I could do with 100%. So I'm going to trust you guys with that. But right now, we live in a country right now where 39 million people live in poverty. That's more than the entire population of Canada. 15 million of those are children. And in our public schools today, 51% of those kids live in poverty. So right now, what I'm hearing today is that Minnesota's in this space of actually rewiring an old house without turning off the power. Right? So we gotta really think about what we're gonna do next. So I want to share with you a little bit. I'm gonna change that slide. Thank you so much. So in 5 minutes, see there, I threw myself off giving away money. Check it out. What? Just real quick. So the coalition right now, when I came into this role two and a half years ago, when you work inside of a community, the first thing you do is you take a walk around the neighborhood. And so becoming a national director, coming from a local community and becoming a national director, the first thing I did was take a walk around my new neighborhood. My new neighborhood. I went to 25 different places, urban, suburban, rural, in a year, and I haven't stopped yet. This is my second time in Minnesota in the last month of being here. But what I learned is a lot of promise. And I think you guys are just right on that tipping point right now. You are right there on the edge. When I'm learning about Minnesota, right now there's over 500 tribal communities. There's over 800 community foundations. There's over 2,000 United Ways. There's over 5,000 higher education institutions. There's over 3,000 counties. There's over 13,000 school districts. There's over 19,000 cities, towns, and communities, and 82 million families. What we need to do is have a strategy that brings them together to support our children. Not a new program, not a new idea. We need a strategy that blends all those resources so that every child has an opportunity to succeed. So I'm going to talk to you really quick about community schools. So that's exactly what it is. It's really a strategy. It doesn't matter what you plug into it. It's looking at the coordination, the collaboration, the cohesion of all the partners, and always thinking of a better way every day and continuous improvement. It has you've probably seen the community school playbook, but real quick, Linda Darling-Hamilton, who was mentioned early in the earlier presentation, we helped supply a Learning Policy Institute and a National Public Education Support Fund to actually evaluate 143 things, and they came up with these 4 elements that happen in community schools that were successful. We got to engage families. We got to ask people what's blocking you from doing well, and from that we actually learned some things programmatic as far as integrated student supports and expanded learning. Then we got to include people in the decision making. And from that, go ahead, thank you. When you begin to listen and learn from people, you begin to understand that community schools are actually incubators of innovation. They have their community-based solutions for you. You see a picture right now. That actually happens, that picture happens 26 weeks out of the school year. How many weeks in the school year? 36, 40, something like that at schools? So 26 times, parents, educators, community members, they get together and think of a better way of every day to how to serve their children. Same things that happen at the Mayo Clinic here over in Rochester, Brooklyn Center, at the school-based health center. I got a chance to visit that. I even got a chance to visit Prince's Old High School. They're doing some great things and partnering with the county over there. It was awesome. So one thing we also know, community schools are actually good stewards of their resources. So this study is actually one that I commissioned before I left the local community. And every dollar that I invested in a coordinator came back to equal $7.11 return of investment, which meant that person whose job it was to wake up every day and think of how to bring people together to create community-based solutions brought back 711% return back to that local school. Talk about investing, I put my dollar into that. I'm going to go by real fast. How does that look across the system? How does that look across the system? So what you see right here in the red are the investments in the coordinator, and the blue, actually, their leveraged dollar amount that they brought right back to that school. Looks impressive. Why is it going up and down? It's based on how long a principal and a coordinator were together. That's all. Just took their time to begin to work with other people, and that's why you see the differences. The longer lines, they were together longer. Let's go this one. Another study shows social return on investment. Every time a child graduates, national studies show us a $35,000 return to the local community. I heard that talked about earlier as far as the brain drain question here. Well, if we start graduating more kids, we heard from some young people earlier, talked to some at lunchtime right now, they're asking for additional supports. Parents are asking for, hey, we would like this to happen right in our neighborhood school. There's some real measures of success when you talk about social return of investment longer term that will be here in Minnesota. Before I got into community schools, my first job was juvenile justice reform. Juvenile justice reform, it costs $305,000 per day for a child, over $1 million a year. We're able to reduce the detention population from 146 young people a day down to the 20s a day and maintain that. That's a lot of money that goes right back into the community of reinvestments. Let's see here. Community schools, this is what we really want to know, right? We want to know community schools accelerate equitable outcomes. This is that study Lyndall Darling Hamilton I talked about earlier did. This study is the one that prompted full service community schools being in the Every Student Succeeds Act now, which currently is $25 million, our big goal in the next 5 years to get that up to $250 million so it could be reallocated back out to states.
Mr. Muñoz, you have a video for us?
A video?
Is that correct?
No videos.
No, no video.
Okay.
My apologies.
No videos. I'll finish up so you can get some questions. So this just came out. So the RAND Corporation just finished up. Think of the most complex system you could think of city-wise in our country. New York City. They have about 800 different languages spoken in New York City. So the mayor 5 years ago put together, issued out about $198 million and started 267 community schools. He went all in on community schools. And what it ran did a 3-year study of the outcomes. So what you see in the blue line right there, they're called treated schools. Those are the community schools. And in the green one, am I seeing colorblind here? The green one right there are non-community schools. And then there's some matched schools. Those are non-community schools that they actually married and looked at closely aligned sister schools of the community schools. And in every case, this is elementary and middle school, we saw that community schools improved at a quicker rate, closing gaps than non-community schools throughout New York. And the same happened in the high schools. Go ahead. In the high schools. As far as the equity gap, if you go ahead, just recently, about 2 years ago, the New Mexico Legislative Education Study Committee was looking at community schools to determine which way they were going to go. And what they found was, despite of the demographics, as you see up there, they didn't see differences, as was mentioned earlier, between schools, but within schools, that the community schools were closing gaps, achievement gaps, actually at a quicker rate and a higher rate than non-community schools. Finally, I know I'm speaking fast, but community schools, they change lives. So these two pictures are very dear to me. You see me in one of them right now. So the one with the parents with the caps and gowns on, these are immigrant moms who aren't allowed to work in the United States. So one of the ideas they came up with, and one of the reasons they weren't participating, because they needed early childhood. And so together with their community, they began to get trained on early childhood development and started their own preschool co-op. The New Mexico state legislator, who's now mayor in Albuquerque, is the one that provided the seed funding to put a portable on the school grounds for them to actually operate their early childhood center. The University of New Mexico gave them a stipend to begin to train of how to become early childhood professionals. The community college furthered that and got a scholarship where all of them received their associate's degree. Their associate's degree become early childhood professionals. Some continued on. The other photo with I'm in, that's one a couple of weeks ago. I took a contingency from Little Rock, Arkansas out to New Mexico. 4 of those 4 ladies in there are moms over in the other picture. Now, 2 of them, one of them now is a kindergarten teacher. One of them now works in administration for the Community School Initiative. One of them now is a community school coordinator. And the other one is still running the cooperative business with her other business partner. And the dad that's in there, the husband in there, who was actually against his wife going back to school because he needed her to be home, he was the one that was the biggest baby crying when she walked across that stage to get her cap and gown. And guess what? Now he's a substitute teacher on his way to becoming a teacher as well, too. So with that, I want to invite you all. You are in the process right now. You could still be in the early adopters. I heard Maryland talked about earlier, for every school that's 80% or higher in poverty rate, they gave funding to become a community school coordinator. We're supporting Maryland in that rollout because that's a lot of community schools right now. New York State has done the same. A lesson learned from New York State is that you have to have some support, so now they have technical assistance regions in there. California governor just put in $300 million in their budget right there. New Mexico's not as rich as other places, and no corporate America in New Mexico. The governor put in $4 million in their budget as well too. So I want to thank you all. I want to congratulate those. Follow up with me in your new scholarships and stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Muñoz. Ms. Crooks, thank you very much. You are the one, I'm told, with the video. My apologies, I misread the agenda for the day. Thank you, Mr. Muñoz. Ms. Crook, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself and then proceed.
Chair, members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is Emily Crook, and to my right is our union president, Nathan Tangen, and to my left is our HPPS coordinator for St. Louis Park Public Schools. So I'd like to begin by showing you a video about our journey into conversations about race and our Q-Comp plan.
Closing the racial opportunity gap is a persistent challenge nationwide and in St. Louis Park Public Schools. For more than 15 years, we have been focused on systemic racial equity transformation. It aligns with our mission and core values. When you believe that everyone has equal intrinsic worth, anything becomes possible. We are moving the needle. Today, graduation rates for Black and brown boys in St. Louis Park Public Schools are exceeding their peers from other districts, and students of color are self-reporting increased engagement in school. 15 years ago, as a system, we believed we could think our way to a solution. We researched and engaged in professional development to learn how to change the behaviors of historically marginalized students, Black, brown, and Indigenous students. After implementation of multiple approaches to change student behaviors, we were not seeing a shift in student-teacher relationships, nor any substantial gains in student achievement. Until 2 high school teachers tipped the concept of education equity on its head. They asked themselves, what would happen if teachers started to examine their personal beliefs and biases towards students of color? Do students of color achieve at higher levels when teachers acknowledge the presence and role of whiteness in education? Our professional development shifted toward a new concept. District administration, principals, teachers, and staff began to focus on their own personal racial equity journeys. By working with Pacific Educational Group, St. Louis Park Public Schools engaged in a courageous conversation about race. St. Louis Park began using a common language to sustain and deepen the conversation about race while keeping students at the center. From this shift in focus, the E12 Racial Equity Instructional Coaching Model was born. Through this model, educators are given the space to critically reflect on their own racial consciousness and interrupt the presence of racism in their classrooms. Using the Courageous Conversation Protocol, tenets of critical race theory, systems thinking tools, and instructional coaching methods, we are working together to close the racial opportunity gap. This work is made possible by the partnership between St. Louis Park Public Schools and the Park Association of Teachers. Our teachers actively voted to use some of their alternative professional pay system dollars to support this work. The union has publicly taken the position that the purpose of ATPPS is to build educators' will, skill, and capacity to disrupt systemic racism in order to impact student achievement and experiences at St. Louis Park Public Schools. And it's paying off. We are closing the racial opportunity gap in St. Louis Park Public Schools. Together, we learn, grow, and continually examine the impact of race and culture on learning. We listen closely to the voices of students, believing that through persistent effort in an equitable environment, all learners can achieve maximum performance. Beyond the school walls, racial equity transformation work is happening across our system, in parent-teacher organizations, site councils, and community education. There is more work to be done. Closing the racial opportunity gap is a persistent challenge for educators. In St. Louis Park, the work begins and ends with the adults in the room as they understand their personal racial equity purpose.
Thank you. As a white racial equity instructional coach working on an interracial team of 9 coaches, it is my belief that building an anti-racist school and community is the work of people who look like me, white educators. Author Lisa Delpit states, "Nothing makes more of a difference in a child's school experience than a teacher. When 96% of Minnesota's teachers are white, it's vital that white educators understand the role and presence of their whiteness and its impact on student achievement." Let me share some of our work. Our QComp plan offers spaces for educators to become self-reflective practitioners through race inquiry. It's seeing how race is a part of us and understanding how we have all been broken by the system of broken by racism. Teachers in our district engage in and reflect on what St. Louis Park calls their racial autobiography. This means coaches ask teachers to reflect on their experiences with race. Reflections allow teachers to begin the process unpacking race to build their will, skill, capacity to dismantle systemic racism, especially in our schools. Just the other day, a white teacher shared a portion of her racial autobiography. She stated that she had an uncomfortable interaction with a parent of color. This led to her working with her coach and reading the book White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. From that book, she realized that her white fragility was keeping her from reflecting on her own behavior and was defensive in her role in perpetuating racism. Equity coaching offers teachers the tools to discuss deeply, explore openly, and inquire into their racial identity. For this teacher, she is continuing to work with her coach to disrupt the 25 years of white fragility to create an anti-racist classroom. Equity coaching allows teachers to notice that an anti-racist classroom is more than a multicultural curriculum. Coaches are supporting teachers to engage with a critical lens in all aspects of their profession. Maggie, a 4th grade teacher, with the help of her equity coach, created a professional development plan on building windows and mirrors throughout her classroom. This meant creating a classroom where kids could see themselves, the mirror, and could see others, the window. In doing this, Maggie began building authentic relationships with the students and their families. By connecting with families, she's learning firsthand how to best support the needs of their children. Coaching is also about helping build a strong sense of racial identity. How does this transcend into students' positive racial identity? Mohammed, a black student, shared with me, quote, "Her room is a safe place for black boys. Like myself, I can communicate with others of my same race and other races. I like being in her class because she has all of our backs," end quote. His teacher is doing the work, inviting courageous conversations about race in the classroom, modeling, and having students use it also as a tool. A part of fixing our embarrassing achievement gap is white people having conversations with other white people about race, their racial identity, and developing racial consciousness to disrupt systemic racism. It's imperative that building an anti-racist climate within a school. The results just came out about our graduation rates in St. Louis Park, and we're doing above average, but I still know we can do better. We need more funding to sustain and deepen our success and replicate the work in other districts. This work can help end predictable results for our historically marginalized students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Superintendent Osorio. We'll end the day with a bit of a case study with the North St. Paul-Maplewood School District and Superintendent Osorio on the initiatives that she has implemented to deal with the racial disparities in her district and an exploration of that and the costs associated with that. This is a variation perhaps on a presentation that she gave to Commissioner Ricker's working group on education finance in Minnesota a month or so ago?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Thank you.
Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Representative Dabney, and to all of the representatives here today and others. First of all, I, on the fly, just decided that I'm going to bring Aisha and Ashley up here since they were just suddenly introduced to the group. They weren't expecting that today, but I wanted to just share for a moment that part of what's really special about the relationship with our students, Aisha and Ashley are a couple of students who were really involved in our the big student conference that we had, the Metro-wide student conference back in October. We had students from all over the metropolitan area, about 1,500 students, bringing together Student Voice. If you are aware of it, if you haven't seen the videos, I would encourage you to check it out. We also have my son and his friend, which is Sweeney, here as well, and students from all over the metro who were connected. And just last night, Ashley and Aisha and I were on a Zoom chat with each other. We've been exploring this idea of teleconferencing and how do we get students connected within our district and across districts. And we are actually planning a project to reach out to students in greater Minnesota and try to get kids talking to each other to break down isolation and improve conversations in student voice and leadership, not only within the metro, but throughout the state of Minnesota. And our two young ladies sitting with me were all over this idea last night through a virtual conference we were having about how we might go about doing that. So be looking for these two. They're going to be doing some really amazing things in the very near future. So, and apparently it's kind of like a payday today for them as well because of the initiative they took to show up today and sit at lunch today and have some amazing conversations. So that's pretty exciting. So I thought, get up here and sit up here. So I just want to get started that way. So as Representative Dabney just explained, he had asked me to come today and give a little reprise of a presentation that I did earlier in the winter to the State Task Force on School Finance. You may have heard that the governor's organized just a task force to start looking at how we might unpack our current system of school finance in the state of Minnesota. The group, I'm actually co-chairing this group with Sherry Johnson, who is a special education leader in a collaborative in the Red Wing area. And what we're trying to do is take a look. We have representatives from many different organizations, the PTA, Education Minnesota, PACER, as well as many different professional organizations from around the state, taking a look at our current school finance system. And if you want to take a look at something so complicated as our school finance system, everybody has their own perspective. Everybody thinks it's broken, and everybody has a different reason why they think it's broken. It reminded me a lot, our first meeting, of an ancient Indian parable. I don't know if you ever heard about this, of the 6 blind men and the elephant. It's a very ancient Indian parable. And it goes something like this, where they all are describing how they feel this elephant to be, and they all have a different feeling of what their part of the elephant feels like. And when each other describes it, they all think the other person is being dishonest and actually come to blows with each other because they think the other person's lying about what the elephant is supposedly looks or feels like, because everybody's got their own perspective. So the way we approach this state finance task force is to every month take a lens into what is the experience for each district around the state. We've taken different topics, such as the special education cross-subsidy. We brought together a metro district and a rural district. We brought together the topic of EL funding. We brought together a rural district and a metro district. Come tell us your case study, your story. We brought together the topic, in this case, of costs of closing the achievement gap. We brought together, in this occasion, my district, and we brought together East Grand Forks. We were the 2 presenters that night. So we're trying to just give different lenses into what this story looks like throughout our different lenses of the financial system that we have for education funding in Minnesota. So this is a reprise of that. So I want to just be clear, it's not all state funding. This is not the achievement gap. It's just a little story of some of the things that we spend money on in Minnesota as we take our efforts to try to close our achievement gap, or the opportunity gap, as we like to call it. So with that, I'm just going to jump into some of the information I have. We always like to begin with the educational disparities. I don't need to get into that today. I love that, when I gave this presentation at that school finance task force that night, I was also the last person on the agenda that night, and I'd also run out of time, so I spoke a million miles a minute, and so I will do that again for you, because thankfully you don't have any windows in here, but it is glorious outside right now. So I will do my best to shorten this up and keep it sweet, but you guys don't need to know more about the achievement gap in our test scores because you see it every day. but they're there, and you can take a look at the slide deck a little more closely later if you want to dig into that. But I also want to reiterate the economic disparities. I know you know about this, but some of these things are just incredibly powerful. That, you know, for every 100,000 Minnesotans, there were 111 white people incarcerated and 1,219 black people incarcerated. This is a couple years old. I don't doubt that it's changed very much since then. But I just like to bring that out, and the economic impact, not only for education, but just our sheer workforce shortage that we're facing in the state of Minnesota that's only going to continue to grow. So it really is an economic issue for us in the state as well. I always like to, whenever I give a presentation, remind people a little bit about our district. You hear North St. Paul, Maplewood-Oakdale. We're North St. Paul, but we're actually east of St. Paul. We're not actually north of St. Paul. Don't know why, you know, it's kind of one of those funny things. We're North St. Paul, Maplewood-Oakdale, and a little slice of Woodbury, tiny, tiny bit of Lake Elmo, Pine Springs. But we're actually a very diverse school district. Our demographics, we're just under 11,000 students. We are 54% free and reduced, 65.4% students of color. You can see our special education rate's pretty high. This is a comparison of us and Minneapolis public schools. So you can see we're very, very similar. We liken ourselves pretty much to Minneapolis public schools. We also often talk about how we and Bloomington are twin districts. They also do the same. In fact, we are constantly chasing each other's data. They're actually similar in size to us as well. I've got some test score data comparisons for our district. You can look more closely at that with more time. I like to pull up our finances. And the reason I highlighted the three columns in the middle, and I know our colleagues in Greater Minnesota, and I have many conversations, they go, oh my gosh, look at all the comp ed money you get in the Title I and equity and integration funding. It is a lot of money. And if you look at our overall budget, you can see that our total amount of comp ed, Title I, and equity integration, the reason I highlighted those three funds is because typically those are some funds that you might dedicate towards closing an opportunity gap, right? Comp ed dollars are directed towards students in poverty, same for Title I, and your equity and integration is dedicated towards improving racial integration and integration of economics as well. And so those are three buckets of money that you would typically spend to invest on those areas. Now I want to show you our cross-subsidy. For those, I know we've got some students in the room. Cross-subsidy is basically the money that you spend in addition to what you get for that bucket of funding. So for special education, you've got certain expense areas that you need to spend for special education requirements. We spend an additional $14 million to meet our expectations for special education funding. And for EL funding, we get a certain amount of dollars for EL services, and we spend an additional 1.2. So that $15 million that you might think about we get in those extra funds is gone when you think about our cross-subsidy. Now, I want to be really clear. Our EL students and our special education students are also our regular ed students. And I think too often we forget that they are also getting all of our general ed services. They are not others. They are not people who don't also get regular ed services too. But I just want to put those into those funding streams so that you can get a picture of that. So it's not always this additional extra funding that's also not being used because we have all these cross subsidies that we are trying to backfill for as well. So just for that perspective, as a school district of our size, we do offer very comprehensive programming like many of us around us try to do. We offer very comprehensive early childhood programming. We try to stay very competitive. As our school district has changed demographically, we very intentionally try to stay very competitive in keeping our economic diversity and our racial diversity. It's no secret that our urban core school districts have a lot of white flight happening, and we go after that. We try to stay highly competitive. We are trying to keep our high school course catalogs as rich and full as humanly possible. And we look for creative ways to keep adding experiences for our students so that we can continue to draw and stay competitive with our neighbors. We're pretty proud of actually how well we do in that. College and career readiness and college courses that are available in our high schools. But we also have a very, very large adult programming, adult GED program. We're the largest GED testing site in the state of Minnesota, larger than Minneapolis and St. Paul. So we offer a lot of opportunities in those areas. There's a growth cap in that area for funding as well. Might be putting that on your radar. But a lot of things we try to stay competitive with. So when we think about what do we try to do to close this opportunity gap for our students, right? So a couple things. We've worked really hard over the last few years to build a very strong MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. We used to call it RTI. Remember how the buzzwords change over the time? So I'm not going to expect you to see this diagram. You can look it up later. I can talk to you about it later. It's taken quite a while. We have it pretty solid in our elementary schools. Basically, we have every child in our elementary schools is screened every 4 to 6 weeks, and we make sure that every child gets an extra 30 minutes of win time, what I need time. And during that time, we actually pay for extra additional supports. We really tap into some retired teachers who come back in and do hourly work with us so that we can provide extra reading teachers at the same time, so we can get small group instruction going on and do intervention supports. We also, at that same time, try to weave in some extra math supports, but every single child, every 6 weeks, the whole team's like all of the grade level teams work at the same time. We have taken a long time to get there, but we now have it absolutely rock solid in all 9 of our elementary schools. We're not there yet for middle and high school. We've got a ways to go, but we've got it solid in our elementary schools, and I think that's part of the reason why we are in many ways beating the odds. I think there's been a lot of newspaper reports about how we are a district that is beating the odds with our data every year. We kind of make some news stories about that. There's costs with that. We choose to not buy other things and spend our money on some of these things because we believe they make a return on our investment. We also invest in a full-time nurse and social worker at every school. I will tell you, that's not easy to do. When I first came to the district, we didn't have time for all that, or we didn't have money for it. We had to cut some other things to make it happen. Freedom schools. We know that kids need to feel social, emotional, and cultural connections and identity in their programming. Freedom schools is more expensive than traditional summer programming. Freedom Schools is based out of the civil rights movement in the 60s, and it's very much a cultural enrichment program, high energy. If you've never been to one, you've got to check it out. Yes. Identity, a young scholars program. We also look at the traditional paths to exclude our students of color. If you screen them in the traditional models for gifted programs, we go and find kids of color and make sure they get in these programs. Our data longitudinally shows that these kids actually get into high, rigorous coursework more effectively if they participate in these programs in elementary. We also invest in behavior specialists and restorative practice training. This is a training we've been doing with our bus drivers. We've been investing a lot. We actually moved this coach into the bus garage. We own our own fleet. Her office is at the bus garage. AVID, we've invested very heavily in AVID. We have 2 national demonstration sites. Late activity bus. Many districts have cut that. We fight every year to hang on to it. Our kids have got to have a ride home if they're going to stay after school and be part of these interventions. The Tony Senna Foundation. I don't know if anybody's been checking on this program, but talk about return on investment. Many programs try to recruit and retain diverse staff, right? If you look around, many times your diverse staff in your buildings, they're your paraprofessionals and they're non-licensed people. We've intentionally worked on getting principals of color, assistant principals of color, and licensed teachers of color. The Tony Senna Foundation actually, for a very low cost, helps you get students, interns into your school and gets them on a track to a 4-year licensed teacher program to get them fully licensed at a very reasonable cost. I know the legislature has helped pay for that in the past. I highly support that. We're very excited to have that high return on investment, and it gets them fully licensed. It's time to stop looking and counting that we're doing well because our paraprofessionals and our custodians and everybody else, our food service, our people of color. We got to get them in the licensed positions and in leadership positions. And then our junior ROTC. Now, I'm going to tell you, I used to be a flaming liberal who thought, I don't want military recruiting people in my high schools, get them out of here. I don't feel that way anymore. If you've ever watched our JROTC programs, they are a leadership program, and there are students of ours that absolutely thrive. It's catching kids who would never be hooked into sports and activities and clubs. And our kiddos in this program, they are a family. We need programs that hook kids in the whole person, whole body, whole emotionality, and they feel connected to a program that's part of their whole self is hooked into it. I absolutely 100% endorse this program, and I have seen it with my own eyes. And I've even flown up in a helicopter with these kids, and it was an amazing thing. BAR is one of the most researched programs out there. 9th grade, teachers wrapping around kids. We've known forever if you catch kids in 9th grade and don't let them fail a class, they don't get credit deficient. Ding, ding, ding. How about we start working on that before they fail instead of waiting to send them to ALC and trying to catch them up. BAR is totally research-based, and we have seen an amazing turnaround in our data of course failure rates. Saturday school. Now, we have an amazing program at Tartan High School. It's not punitive. It's voluntary. Pick the teachers kids love. Have them come, core classes, English, science, math, and social studies. They come, and it's optional. we had 102 kids last Saturday. Come if you want to. You need help on your homework. They come. They want help. And then we just have some headlines because we've made it in the news a few times. And I just want to emphasize one more thing we work really hard on. Our staff matter. Our staff are valued. We take a lot of time and energy to flatten the organization, share decision making. One of our greatest interventions we ever did came out of our kindergarten team. They decided they needed to figure it out. We don't have a director of teaching and learning. Our decisions come from our teachers and our principals. We work this stuff out together. We have very strong employee relations, strong union relationship, because we make decisions together. It's not top down. And I'm done. How's that for really fast?
Hey.
It seems to be my mantra lately when I get the end of the day.
Now, Representative Osorio, thank you for that high level and high speed
Always.
review. At the Commissioner's Work Group on Education Finance, you walked through some of the costs associated with those programs.
And each of these slides
Can you help
had a
us with
cost.
that?
Each of these slides actually has a cost on it. In the upper right corner, I just skimmed through them.
My apologies.
No, it's right there. I just skimmed over them. So each one of these has a cost, and in the box it tells you what the cost is for, what we spend that money on. Yeah.
All right.
Yep. And there's certain things that we don't spend money on, like a director of teaching and learning. I mean, there's certain things we just don't have, and so we make some choices with what we have because of what we're doing. We also did an energy audit to dramatically cut our energy costs because we thought we don't want to be letting money go out the window, literally. So we did a huge energy audit and reduced our energy costs by $250,000 annually just by getting that done. I mean, little things, because we just want to make sure we squeeze every dollar and make sure it goes towards our kids.
Thank you very much. Perhaps the best part of the presentation, however, was the points where the students were nodding their heads.
I know.
Recognize, not taking anything away from you, Superintendent, but.
And I didn't want to put them on the spot because they did not even know they were going to be sitting here with me today, but they are pretty special, and they actually guide me all the time. They stop me and send me messages, and I pull them aside and we chat, and they tell me what's going on.
So, girls, I won't put you on the spot, but do you have anything that you want to share? Total voluntary.
In terms of what?
In terms of your experience and how you see some of these actions by the school district in your own lives or the lives of your siblings, perhaps.
Or where it's going.
Is this loud enough?
Yes, it is. Thank you for
Okay.
that.
I saw a lot of examples before me, so I'm trying to learn from it with the mic. My name is Ashley, Ashley Olsen Enamorado, and I'm a senior at North High School. I think there's so much I feel like I've learned throughout my 4 years being at North High School. Yeah, everything that Ms. Osorio pointed out really just it kind of just highlights a lot of, there's a lot of things too that it's hard for me to put into words, my experience there. I think we are a school that's changing. It's tough because, our staff, at the moment, it's hard because we need to start, we're trying to get more staff of color in our schools, and it's a work in progress, of course. But, we can see the effects, the direct correlation of what it's like to feel like you aren't represented in your school. It's real, and, the stats, the pictures, I hope that you guys up there can gather something and understand that this is a real experience that we are facing. It is not just, it's not just a statistic that you see on the screen. This is our life. It doesn't just affect, in fact, students of color. It affects everyone. It affects the entire environment and how it's working as a whole. So this is something that's going to affect the lives of your children, your grandchildren, everyone that they are meeting. And I really hope that there's something that you can gather from, learning about my school and the changes that I hope to see, because I really do want to see the positive improvement, and I hope that you guys want to facilitate that for us. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to add
He
anything?
worded it exactly perfectly. The only thing that I would add is, so out of all the things that were discussed today, there are two things that really stood out to me that I feel like, and you guys can decide how you want to center policies and stuff. I'm not a policymaker, but just two key but just two key things that really stood out to me in terms of like relating to my experiences and what I feel like really is important when it comes to changing school environments is one, mentors. I firmly believe that in order to really make students feel like they're special and that they can learn and be successful regardless of their race is having mentors who look like them. And I know that it's very difficult to get teachers and staff of color in the short term because that's the kind of change that takes a long time to implement. But I really do believe that even bringing in coaches or like cultural liaisons, things like that, into classrooms, someone that students of color can really look to and talk to and relate to is really important. Someone that can look at them and tell them, like, you have potential, you can be successful. Because I feel like a lot of times, and even with the stories that were shared this morning, it really only takes one person looking at you and saying, hey, you can do this, to really change your outlook on life. And it can have massive positive effects. And then the other thing I want to say is when it comes to cultural competency and how to train and measure cultural competency, I feel like it's kind of like a buzzword or like a word that is kind of like vague and like, what do we really mean by cultural competency? Like, what does it take to really teach that? Because it feels so, like, it's easy to talk about, but I feel like we really need to get to the specifics of what that should really look like, because if we can't get schools with staff of color within like the next 5 to 10 years, then maybe we should start looking like, okay, how can we train white teachers to be culturally competent? What does that look like? So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
If I could add one fact, Ashley and Aisha heard about this last night from me, and I told them that I wouldn't be here till late morning, but that it started at 8 a.m. They don't have school today, by the way. It's a teacher professional development day in our district. They got here at 8 a.m. of their own choosing and got here way before I did. I was surprised they were and have been here all day long of their own choice. Isn't that amazing?
That is. Thank you all. Thank you very much for coming today.
I love it.
Representative Moran, we're at a point of closing after quite the day.
Well, to all those who have stuck in here all day, thank you for showing up and being a part of this conversation, to listen, to learn, and to grow. To my Speaker of the House and to my Majority Leader, I want to say thank you for making this a priority and putting it in place. And to the chairs of the education committees, I want to say to both of you, thank you for your leadership and the role that you play to create better educational outcomes for our children across the state of Minnesota. It has been really, really impactful for me. I hope it has been for you. I just want to thank my Posse Caucus, my People of Color Indigenous Caucus, who we sit and we try to bring a race equity lens to the work that we do in this body, whatever subject area, whether it's education or health and human service or job, workforce development, we have to bring that cultural lens into this place because it comes from the community that we represent. So I'm really, I absolutely feel honored to be able to do that. My name is Rena Moran. I'm a state representative from District 65A in St. Paul. So I represent the community right outside the Capitol to the west on University Avenue. I think sometime in this body, as legislators, we think so much up here, right? We want to think big. We got to get the big stuff done, big, you know, and it becomes so impossible. It's become to seem like it's unachievable. It's so heavy. But what I've heard all day today is really down here. And it's really about relationships. And I tell people that all the time, everything's about relationships. And our kids need to feel valued. They need to feel seen and heard. That's really simple. I think we all can do that. and we know that it's not just about the teachers in the classroom and the dollars and the money, and we know schools cannot do it by themselves. So what I hope we heard a part of today is that you need to have community partnerships. We need parents, you need communities, you need the partnerships. It needs to be all of that. And we need to create a space where folks can be innovative, creative, right? We just can't look at one model and it fits all. It just does not work. And so I just want to close to say that I've always been on education. Education is fundamental. It's the path out of poverty. We all want our kids to be successful in school and in life. And if we're going to do that in the 21st century, we cannot do it under a model that we've been having since the time of slavery. We just can't. So I just want to really thank the presenters who have just made some really, really bold statements. You have come into this body and just been really clear and helpful, I hope, to all of us, because we're all learning and growing. And sometimes we forget that this is not the real world up here. There's real people out there that we are impacting real people's lives. And so just thank you so much. And it's an honor to be here.
Thank you, Representative Moran. To members in the public, this day would not have happened and would not have been possible without the leadership of Speaker Hortman, who has dedicated her entire day and many weeks before this to the creation of this event. And I want to thank you, Speaker Hortman.
Well, thank you, Chair Dabney, and I want to thank all of the folks who participated today, most especially the staff who engaged in the planning, Sarah Burt, Alyssa Fritz, and the members who engaged in the planning, Jim Dabney, Rena Moran, Cheryl Joachim, and Dave Pinto. It takes a lot of people to put this together. Again, I would echo that the presenters really made the day. I think what's important as a leader is to know when to lead and when to follow, and when to talk and when to listen. And I think we have a lot of listening to do. I think the answers are in the community, and the people in this room know the things that we need to do, and we need to create spaces for more listening for policymakers. Despite the fact that Representative Moran said, you know, when we make it too big, sometimes it makes it hard to do. I really think this is an enormous challenge for us. And as Minnesota policymakers, we have to recognize the enormity of the challenge in front of us so that we put the resources and the time and the attention into solving it. So, you know, pick your analogy, whether this is our moonshot, whether this is our D-Day. In order to get it done, it will take sustained effort of a lot of different people going to the max in a lot of different ways. And the only way we can get anywhere is to recognize the enormity of the problem and that we have to do it together. So thank you, Representative Dabney, for getting us off to a good start. And I look forward to our work together as a whole body on this in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Speaker Hortman. Let me end with the gratitude to the presenters today, whether you came a few miles or hundreds of them. Thank you for coming and sharing your insights and your knowledge and your data with us, because we need all of that. To the audience who came, and many of you spent the day with us, many of you have those community connections that Representative Moran spoke of, and are ready and willing to engage with us on co-leading, on finding the responses that are effective and that work. To the members who've spent all or part of your day here, thank you. This was a significant commitment by you. And we had, I think, a blunt and bold conversation in many ways about the racial disparities in education in Minnesota. Members, it is on us. Good day. Thank you all.